Beloved soul, pause for a moment. Listen, not with the ears, but with the heart. In this ceaselessly busy world, have you ever truly heard the sound of your own stillness? Or has the constant noise of restless thoughts, fears, and desires drowned the quiet whisper of your inner being? From the moment we wake until the time sleep claims us, the mind chatters incessantly, weaving thoughts of past regrets, future anxieties, and fleeting worldly desires. Yogananda, the great master of yoga and divine realization, lovingly called the ordinary human mind an eternal chatterbox, forever busy creating waves of restlessness upon the calm lake of consciousness. But, dear one, beyond this ever-moving mind, beyond the ceaseless flicker of thoughts, exists a kingdom of divine stillness, a realm untouched by pain, desire, or worldly illusions. It is here, in the temple of inner silence, that one meets God face to face. Yogananda declared, "Stillness is God." It is not a void, but the fullest of fullness, a living consciousness beyond the limitations of the thinking mind. This is what the sages called no mind, not unconsciousness, not emptiness, but superconscious awareness, where the soul beholds itself as spirit, unencumbered by the chains of thought. But how rarely do we seek this sacred space? Entranced by the senses, enslaved by the demands of our fleeting desires, we run endlessly after shadows, while the eternal Son of Peace patiently waits within. The mind, uncontrolled and habit-bound, keeps us chained to a wheel of suffering. As Yogananda said, the tragedy of human life is that man remains a prisoner of his own mental restlessness, mistaking the cage for freedom and the storm for peace. And yet, this need not be your destiny. Each soul, no matter how burdened by past mistakes, holds within the key to this inner kingdom. The great ones who have walked before us, Krishna, Christ, Buddha, and Yogananda himself, beckon us to enter this sacred realm. When the ripples of thoughts cease to dance on the surface of the mind lake, Yogananda wrote, the soul beholds its reflection as the image of spirit. In today's discourse, let us journey together into the heart of these sacred teachings, to understand the true nature of the mind, the meaning of no mind, and how, through ancient yet practical methods, you too may taste this divine silence. Not as a theory, but as a living, breathing experience. For what greater treasure can a human being seek, than to hear, in the stillness of his own heart, the silent voice of God? To understand the sublime state of no mind, we must first recognize the nature of the ordinary mind, the restless, wandering, untamed force that governs most human lives. Paramahansa Yogananda, in his timeless wisdom, described the human mind as a monkey, fickle, mischievous, and endlessly leaping from one branch of thought to another, seldom still, never satisfied. He wrote, the ordinary man's consciousness is constantly being whipped by the senses. Like a leaf tossed by the storm, his mind is blown by every wind of desire, fear, and memory. One moment it dances with joy at a worldly gain, the next it plunges into despair at a trivial loss. Thus, life becomes a series of alternating pleasures and pains, with peace remaining ever elusive. Why is the mind so restless? Yogananda explained that the source of this turbulence lies in the ceaseless identification of the soul with the body and the senses. The world of appearances, sights, sounds, tastes, sensations, constantly pulls the attention outward, causing countless ripples upon the inner lake of awareness. Each thought, each desire, each attachment is a pebble cast into this inner lake, disturbing its natural stillness. He beautifully compared this to a pond. When the surface of the water is still, he said, one can see the reflection of the moon undistorted. But when the water is rippled by wind or stones, the reflection is broken into meaningless fragments. Likewise, the restless mind cannot reflect the perfect image of spirit. And yet, how cunning the mind is! It promises happiness in future attainments and reminiscences of past glories, while depriving the seeker of the only true reality, the eternal present. Yogananda warned, the mind is the greatest thief of peace. It robs the soul of its divine inheritance by keeping it preoccupied with illusions. Most men do not realize that their habitual thought patterns, of anxiety, comparison, craving, and fear, act like chains, binding them to a lower state of being. And the longer one remains a prisoner of these habits, the deeper the grooves of restlessness become in the mind's subtle fabric. But the great yogi also assures us, no chain is unbreakable. Even the most restless mind, when subjected to discipline, love, and divine yearning, can be transformed into a crystal-clear mirror, reflecting the light of the infinite. The mind, when properly trained, Yogananda declared, becomes the greatest instrument for self-realization. But when left untamed, it is the greatest obstacle. In the coming moments, let us explore how this mind, so long a tyrant, can be tamed, stilled, and ultimately transcended. For within the silence that follows the quieting of thought lies the soul's greatest secret. What, beloved soul, is this state called no mind? Is it a blank emptiness, a void, an absence of awareness? Nay, it is none of these. Paramahansa Yogananda, with the clarity of an illumined master, revealed that the no-mind state is not unconsciousness, but rather superconsciousness, a state beyond the restless, limited domain of ordinary thoughts. In the no-mind state, the waves of mental restlessness have subsided, and the soul abides in its original nature, pure awareness, untouched by thought, uncolored by emotion, unbound by time. Yogananda often compared this to a calm, mirror-like lake reflecting the eternal sun of spirit. He taught, the mind of the average man is a whirlpool of thoughts, constantly changing direction. But the mind of the yogi, trained in deep meditation, becomes like a placid pool upon which the reflection of God is seen clearly. This state is not a dull absence of mental activity, but the presence of something infinitely greater. When the mind is stilled, what remains is the pure consciousness of the soul, serene, expansive, blissful. It is here that the seeker experiences what Yogananda called the ocean of peace. In ordinary wakefulness, awareness is tethered to the senses, forever dancing from one object to another. In deep sleep, one experiences unconsciousness. But in the no-mind state, awareness remains, but detached from thought, desire, and sensory identification. One remains aware of awareness itself. Yogananda beautifully described this state. When the ripples of thought subside in the lake of the mind, the moon of the soul is reflected undistorted. In that tranquil state, man realizes his oneness with the infinite. The sages of India called this the state of nirvikalpa samadhi, where all distinctions between subject and object, between I and thou, dissolve into the blissful experience of pure being. It is not something to be imagined or intellectually grasped, but directly experienced in the depths of one's own consciousness. In the no-mind state, Yogananda said, one transcends duality. Pleasure and pain, light and darkness, gain and loss, are seen as fleeting shadows upon the screen of cosmic motion. The soul, at last free from the tyranny of thoughts, abides in its true home, the eternal now. This, dear one, is the supreme treasure of life. For in that state, no sorrow can touch you, no desire can disturb you, no fear can shake you. The soul drinks the nectar of divine joy, unbroken, unending. In the next section, we shall learn why the mind resists this state, and how to lovingly, patiently guide it toward the infinite stillness that lies within us all. Beloved soul, perhaps you have already noticed in your quiet moments, when you attempt to still the mind, when you seek to listen to the silence within, how swiftly thoughts arise, unbidden, like waves rushing upon the shore. The mind resists stillness. And why is this so? Paramahansa Yogananda, with the clear vision of one who had conquered this inner battlefield, explained that the mind, for countless incarnations, has grown accustomed to movement. It finds security in its restlessness, believing that thinking, even chaotic, scattered thinking, is life itself. The stillness seems unfamiliar, and therefore, to the untrained mind, unsettling. For lifetimes, Yogananda wrote, the soul has become identified with the ceaseless activity of thoughts, desires, and sensations. When it first attempts to withdraw inward, the mind, like a spoiled child, rebels. It seeks distraction in memories, in anxieties, in fantasies about the future. Anything, rather than face the formless, boundless presence of the self. The nature of the mind is motion. Like a river, it flows continuously, fed by countless streams of past experiences, habitual desires, and attachments to worldly things. To halt this river abruptly is impossible. The mind, Yogananda said, must be lovingly guided, gradually trained, and purified through discipline and devotion. But why this resistance to stillness? Because, within the silence lies the dissolution of the ego. The ego, that false sense of separate I, fears its own end. Yogananda observed, the ego lives through identification with the body and the ceaseless murmuring of the mind. In stillness, the ego senses its illusory nature and fights to preserve its dominion. Thus, when you sit to meditate, old thought patterns surge forth, attempting to reclaim your attention. Forgotten worries, half-remembered regrets, even trivial matters long buried, rise to the surface. This is not failure, dear one, but the natural purging of the subconscious mind as it resists the light of awareness. Yogananda compared this to a turbulent ocean. When a storm subsides, it takes time for the waves to calm. Similarly, even when a yogi begins to practice inner stillness, the accumulated storms of thoughts take time to settle. Patience is the boat that carries you across this restless sea. But he assured us, resistance is a sign of progress. The very fact that the mind resists shows that the soul is striving for liberation. In time, with love, discipline, and grace, the storm will subside, and the clear light of spirit will shine through. In the next section, let us uncover the sacred methods Yogananda taught to pacify this restless mind, to gently, lovingly, lead it back to the eternal sanctuary within. Having understood the nature of the restless mind and why it resists stillness, Paramahansa Yogananda, out of his infinite compassion for all sincere seekers, gave us sacred methods, time-tested pathways by which the mind can be lovingly tamed, and the soul reawakened to its eternal serenity. The mind cannot be stilled by force, Yogananda warned, but by higher, subtler means, through the steady practice of meditation, breath control, and deep devotion to God. Let us explore these sacred techniques, not as mere theory, but as living doorways to your own awakening. First, Yogananda said, learn to become the silent observer of your thoughts. In meditation, sit quietly and watch the stream of thoughts passing through your mind, without attachment or resistance. See them as passing clouds in the sky of your awareness. He advised, do not become the thought. Observe it as a witness. No, I am not this thought, I am the awareness watching it. This simple shift of perspective begins to weaken the hold of the restless mind. Yogananda placed great emphasis on the control of prana, the life force, through conscious breathing, as a means to still the mind. When the breath is calm, he taught, the mind becomes calm. And when both are calm, the soul reveals itself. He taught simple yet profound techniques such as Hong Sao meditation, where one focuses attention at the spiritual eye while silently watching the natural breath, mentally chanting Hong with the inhalation and Sao with the exhalation. This calms the heart, quiets the breath, and stills the mind like a tranquil lake. Above all, Yogananda reminded, it is love for the divine that melts the resistance of the mind. Through devotional yearning, the heart becomes tender, and the mind naturally follows it inward. He urged seekers to inwardly converse with the divine beloved during meditation, praying with simple, childlike sincerity, "Reveal thyself, O Spirit. I seek thee behind every breath, in every still moment." Devotion transforms discipline into joy, and effort into grace. Finally, Yogananda taught, after breath and thought have subsided, rest in the sacred space between thoughts. Be neither past nor future, neither thinker nor thought. Abide as pure awareness. He called this the pause between breaths, the sacred gap between thoughts, where the infinite whispers to the soul. In this stillness, he said, you will know what no words can describe, the oceanic joy of the no-mind state. In our next section, let us explore what awaits the soul in this wondrous state, the signs, the peace, the joy of touching eternity within. Beloved soul, when the sacred techniques have been practiced with sincerity, and the restless tides of thought begin to subside, a wondrous thing occurs. You will enter a state not of emptiness, but of fullness, an expansive, ever-new peace that Paramahansa Yogananda called the ocean of spirit consciousness. What happens when the mind is still? Yogananda described this state as one where the mind becomes a clear, calm mirror reflecting the pure light of the soul. In that holy silence, thought ceases to divide, and the illusion of separateness dissolves. The first sign of this state, he said, is an ineffable peace descending upon the heart, like a cool breeze on a hot day. This peace is not of the world. It is not dependent on outer conditions, but arises from within, like a hidden spring flowing in the desert of human life. In the no-mind state, there comes a profound awareness of existence itself. You become conscious, not of any object, but of consciousness alone, an unshaken stillness in which you feel yourself to be part of all things, and all things a part of you. Yogananda wrote, in that sacred stillness, one feels no fear, no desire, no regret. There is no past, no future, only the eternal now. It is as if you have stepped out of the stream of time into the ocean of eternity. As peace deepens, another sign appears, ananda, or divine bliss. Not the fleeting pleasure of the senses, but a sweet, swelling joy that rises unbidden from the heart and expands to fill the body, mind, and the surrounding space. This joy, Yogananda said, is the surest proof of the soul's presence, and a foretaste of God communion. You may feel as though every cell is awake, vibrating with light, yet perfectly still. The breath slows, sometimes ceasing altogether, as the life force withdraws from the senses and the devotee is absorbed in spirit. The highest sign, Yogananda taught, is the direct perception of oneness. The barrier between self and world dissolves. You look at the stars and realize they are shining within you. You hear the birds and know their song is your own. You touch the earth and feel yourself infinite. In this no-mind state, you are no longer a limited being. You are the witness, the witnessing, and the witnessed, all at once. the soul remembers its eternal identity. In the final section, we shall learn how to sustain and live from this sacred awareness, for the true goal is not to visit this state, but to make it our permanent home. Beloved one, it is a great blessing to taste the bliss of the no-mind state even for a moment. But Yogananda lovingly reminded his disciples, the true purpose of spiritual practice is not to have occasional glimpses of peace, but to establish yourself in it, to make calmness, joy, and divine wisdom your constant companions. How then, does one sustain this holy awareness amid the duties, challenges, and noise of daily life? Paramahansa Yogananda, with deep compassion for the householder, the seeker, and the renunciate alike, offered timeless guidance. Beloved one, it is a great blessing to taste the bliss of the no-mind state even for a moment. But Yogananda lovingly reminded his disciples, the true purpose of spiritual practice is not to have occasional glimpses of peace, but to establish yourself in it, to make calmness, joy, and divine wisdom your constant companions. How then, does one sustain this holy awareness amid the duties, challenges, and noise of daily life? Paramahansa Yogananda, with deep compassion for the householder, the seeker, and the renunciate alike, offered timeless guidance. Yogananda taught the sacred art of Kriya Yoga, not as an escape from life but as a means to spiritualize every action. The yogi, he said, learns to perform duties with calmness and inward God remembrance, seeing all work as service to the divine. Even amid noise and labor, cultivate the silent witness within you. When the mind begins to race, pause for a moment, take a deep breath, and silently invoke God's presence. Thou art with me, in this moment, in this task. Slowly, the separation between meditation and action will dissolve, and the no-mind state will flow into your daily life. The awakened soul, Yogananda reminded, sees life as a divine play. Joys and sorrows, gain and loss, are passing scenes on the screen of consciousness. Learn to meet all events with calmness, gratitude, and surrender. He often said, be calmly active and actively calm. When you rest in this balance, the mind ceases its agitation, and the peace of the soul remains unbroken, like a still lake reflecting the sky. To sustain the no-mind state, surround yourself with spiritual vibrations, the company of sincere seekers, the words of saints, and the silent presence of nature. As you think, so you become, Yogananda taught. Read sacred scriptures, chant holy names, and spend time in quiet reflection. The mind will gradually lose its taste for restlessness and find joy in inwardness. And so, beloved one, step by step, through daily practice, devotion, and inward stillness, you shall become a citizen of eternity, living in the world but not of it, established forever in the blissful silence of the soul. As Yogananda said, a saint is a sinner who never gave up. So walk on, dear soul. The infinite awaits within you. If these timeless teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda stirred your heart, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. Together, let us explore the sacred wisdom of the Masters, and walk this path of light, peace, and eternal joy. Share this message with fellow seekers, and let the fragrance of divine remembrance spread across the world. Until we meet again, stay ever in the light of the soul.